What up, everybody? One of the most interesting clips from the Power Book 4 Season 3 teaser videos is one of Tommy Egan walking into a church, shooting it up, while in the process screaming, "Motherfucker!" We can also see from this clip that Tommy has a crew walking in with him, that he's not alone, and that D-Mac is also with him during this scene, dressed in the same clothes from the scene where he's kissing his gun, and also the other scene from the new teaser that also shows Marshall and two other guys with him. So Tommy must be at least 10 deep going into this church and shooting it up. And the fact that they're so deep walking in this church lets us know that there's definitely something serious that they're going at. Because in season 1, when Tommy teamed up with Diamond and Vic Flynn to go against the Serbs to take their territory, they only went against the Serbs 5 deep. This clip looks like they have even more people than that running up in this church. Another clue from this clip is that Tommy's shooting up the church with a gold gun. Keep it in mind there was a clip of Diamond with a table of guns, and a few of them were gold. And the other clip with Tommy looking at the gold gun, saying this is some real El Chapo shit right here. So this lets us know that either though we don't see Diamond or anybody affiliated with CBI in this clip, either though they could be in the clip, as we can't tell everybody who's with Tommy in this scene. But because Tommy's using that same gold gun that he got from Diamond, lets us know that this most likely isn't Tommy gathering a crew to go to war against CBI. Also keeping in mind that there's another clip from the trailer that shows Diamond and Jannard telling Tommy that they're not going to risk what they built for nobody. So this could potentially be Tommy looking for Diamond's help concerning whatever he has going on when he wants to shoot up this church. But Diamond sees it as too big of a risk and doesn't want to get involved. And we already know that Jannard don't want to be involved with anything that Tommy's trying to get into unless he can use it as a way to try to backdoor him. So because the fact Tommy might be turning to Diamond for help in this situation, and the fact that Diamond won't let CBI get involved could be why Tommy ultimately turns to D-Mac and Marshall and the two other kids who are with him in that scene, as well as what looks to be a Latin crew with him also. And with that said, one of the guys in the background of this scene looks like it could potentially be Miguel Garcia, because either though the person's image is kind of blurry, everything about this character, including the beard, matches the appearance of Miguel Garcia. And if that is in fact Miguel and him and Tommy have teamed up together, that most likely means that something happened to Mireya for Tommy and Miguel to be working together on the same side of a shootout. Another clue indicating this is personal and most likely has something to do with Mireya is the fact that Tommy's running up in the church screaming, "Motherfucker!" And normally when Tommy's canceling Christmas, he isn't screaming with rage like that. But another big question in this whole dynamic is, why is Tommy shooting up a church in the first place? I think it most likely has something to do with a funeral happening there. But at the same time, the church doesn't look like it has that many people in it either. There's a guy on the upper deck and another guy in the back, but it looks like Tommy and them are aiming towards the front. So they might be going in and shooting up the church before the funeral actually starts or something like that, when there's not as many people in there. But also keep in mind, Season 4 of Power Book 2 also had a few church scenes with Detective Carter going to the confessional booth and Tariq ultimately trying to take Carter out while he was in the booth, either though that didn't end up working for him. Concerning funeral shootouts, we've seen one of those before, either though it didn't happen in the church, it took place when they were walking out of the church at Lorenzo Tejada's funeral. The Russians shot it up in retaliation from when Drew Tejada killed one of their bosses. Getting me to the big question, who is it that Tommy's gunning for in the church? First off, I don't think it has anything to do with Miguel, because even if that isn't Miguel with Tommy, and I think it most likely is, we've never seen him associated with any kind of church. And when his grandmother died in season 2, they had her funeral already, and it wasn't in a church like the one Tommy's shooting up. So the fact that Miguel could potentially be with Tommy, and the fact the church most likely isn't associated with Miguel, makes me to think most likely Miguel isn't Tommy's target right here. And the fact that Tommy's using the gold gun also makes me think that it doesn't have anything to do with a CBI split with Diamond either. My theory is that Tommy's gunning for Bobby DeFranco in this scene. And because he's coming for a cop out in the open like that, is why he has such a big crew with him. Because there might be other cops with DeFranco in this church. Bobby DeFranco was introduced in season 2 and seemed to be a good guy and a by the book type of cop. But I think Bobby DeFranco was actually brought to the show to be a problem. Either though he was introduced as somebody you wouldn't think that about. This is because the actor who plays Bobby DeFranco, named Chris Tardio, was originally considered to be Tommy Egan back when they were casting for OG Power. Before there was a Ghost and Tommy cast, 50 Cent and this man Chris Tardio were supposed to be the Ghost and Tommy characters. And I know we're all glad that they decided to go in a different direction, but this also lets us know that the Bobby DeFranco character might have a flip that he can switch if they were originally going to get him to play Tommy Egan. Also keep in mind that the actress who was cast as Blanca Rodriguez was also originally considered to play Angela Valdez. And Blanca Rodriguez has been a problem since she's been introduced for several seasons now. And I think that flip will switch for Bobby DeFranco when he discovers that his wife, Stacy Marks, has been killed. Keep it in mind there's a clip from the trailer that shows Bobby DeFranco walking up to a crime scene and identifying a body. And I think the body who he's identifying right here is his dead wife, Stacy Marks. I'm not sure exactly how it will get to this point, or if Tommy will even be involved in the murder of Stacy Marks. But I definitely think that Bobby DeFranco will believe that Tommy's who's responsible for taking out his wife. And because of that, Bobby DeFranco is going to look for revenge outside of the law. Keep it in mind, he knows how hard Stacy Marks was trying to arrest Tommy. And he also knows how Tommy's been able to evade the law going back to his time in New York. So what I think is going to happen is that DeFranco's going to aim to take out Tommy. But in the process, Mireya will save Tommy. And it will be an Easter egg of OG Power when Tommy took out Angela. So after Bobby DeFranco kills Mireya, at this point, I think Miguel and Tommy will team up together to go after Bobby DeFranco. And they'll probably come at him while he's at something to do with Stacy Marks' funeral, with other cops in there with him who are also armed. And this will end up being a big time shootout between Tommy, Miguel, and everybody they bring with them against Bobby DeFranco and the Chicago PD. Because when we're talking about a character who would be the most likely to have connection to a big church like that, I think it would be Stacy Marks. Because as an aspiring political figure, keep in mind that Stacy Marks has her eyes on Mayor, and she most likely has a church home, similar to how when Raina died, Councilman Tate hooked Ghost up with Reverend Mastodon for Raina's funeral. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.